where things are going for you this season.
The fact that you're starting actually the competitive season in Lillehammer has got to make it a little easier, because sometimes you train on one track for 1 month, but then you show up on another track. But it seems like most of the athletes are somewhat familiar with what's going on here.
I think so too, yeah. Although I have to say that the ice that we experienced this week and last week was not something that we're used to, because it was very cold, so the ice was very, very hard, and you have to adjust your sled to be able to make it down clean. Because in pre-season, the ice is usually very hard because the weather outside is warmer, so you don't need that much grip. And on the other hand, here you need a lot of grip actually, and it feels different if the ice is really hard. So that's a different type of sliding on this ice than what you're used to.
This is the Austrian team, Selina Ekla. Some shots taken just moments ago. Her teammate Lara Kipp. They are among the race favorites in this competition. A moment ago we saw Jessica Degenhardt. There are probably in women's doubles, I would say, still a little small, a little growing, and maybe 5 at the most teams, as far as we know, that can win a race. And then maybe 6 or 7 that hope to surprise everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Although I have to say, I'm super excited for the new double, Eidberger and
Lena.
Yeah.
Lena Machicina.
Yeah.
Yep. We will see them third up.
They've been showing some great times during training and also won the Nations Cup, so I'm super excited to see how they will hold up against the seeded group athletes. Yeah.
Some of your Italian teammates. There will be 2 from Italy in today's competition. We also have 2 from Germany. And the Romanians, Raluca will be here, of course. She made the switch to doubles last season. Latvia and the United States only with 1 team in today's competition. Latvia has 2.
Latvia has 2, yeah.
But the USA won, and we've seen as many as 3 at some races from the United States. So there are some changes with that program.
Yeah, for the US, they have a new double coming up as well for women doubles. So they decided to not bring it to here and train and get some more runs in before the start of the second half of the season, and I think they will join us then for second half.
Again, another look at both Jessica and Selina, but you know, it is your teammates from Italy that have captured the World Cup overall each of the last 2 seasons. How are Andy and Marian looking this season? Oh,
they're looking as strong as ever. I have to say, they're in great shape. They had a phenomenal summer. They've improved on the start. They've been sliding really well. So I'm super excited to see how they can, hold up and compete in a competitive environment here in lady doubles.
Drone shots from just a couple of days ago. Our social media director, Eddie, and Chris helped provide these. We've actually had a little more snow just in the past 12, 15 hours or so to make the backdrop a little whiter. More importantly, Leon, how will that affect competition?
Well, I think it won't affect it too much because we have great coverage here of the track, so it will not snow in the track. But I think it's a little warmer than the last couple of days, so the ice might be a bit different. But other than that, I think that snow doesn't affect it at all.
Now a closer look at this track that was built in 1992, completed in 1993, and of course hosted the Olympics 30 years ago in 1994. It's 13 corners from this lower start, 16 from the men's start. And just a moment ago, Leon, you were showing me, you did a camera, a Schlittenkamera, as we say in Deutsch, of the look down the track. But in a moment, we're going to see the POV. And tell us a little bit more about the tricky areas, the fast areas.
Yeah, this track definitely has some tricky areas where you need to be on point, otherwise you're going to have big troubles, and that's going to cause a lot of loss in time. Here you go into the start corner for lady start, which is usually where you don't have a lot of speed yet. But this actually is very tricky corner from lady start. You have to get in early to 6, otherwise you're going to start looping, and that's a lot of time. Going into the labyrinth, still not a lot of speed, but you have to make sure that you get early onto 9, so you can get a nice and even entrance into 10. Then 11, 12, that's now where it gets spicy. So you have to have a perfect loop to get a nice entrance into 13, steer the right pressure, and get out straight of 13. And then 14 and a big pressure cone of 15. And from there on, it's basically already in the finish.
Yeah, someone was telling me it's very early, curves 2 and 3, and then down at 13. That's really where you're going to see a lot of the action. Yeah,
13 is always a big challenge. If you don't have a great entrance, because you have a lot of pressure there, so you will have trouble steering, and that causes you to loop. And if you're high at the end, you're going to have troubles coming out, potentially hitting walls, potentially skid. Depends on how the sled is set up, how the athletes react, and yeah, I think that we will see some problems out of 13.
It was a lot colder earlier in the week, but things are expected to actually warm up a little above freezing throughout today. Nothing compared to last year, where it felt like summer at some of the World Cup events, but we'll see what that does. Now, these records were set in the Nations Cup competition yesterday, won by the Germans. A lot of records should fall around the world in the women's doubles, because it's still a relatively new discipline. But I got to tell you, some of Tatjana Höfner and Johannes Ludwig's start records are still holding around the world in women's singles and men's singles.
Yeah, the start record of Tatjana here with 32, that's just insane start record.
Only 11 athletes, or I should say 22 athletes, 11 sleds in today's competition, but we can talk a little bit before this race starts about this new format determining the start list. It's different this year, right?
It is different, yeah, exactly. So we had some troubles last year with people not going all out on the first run to have a better start than in the second run. So meaning that the seeded athletes who did go last year and the years before just decided to not go all out to have a better start than in the second run. And now with the new format, we they go earlier in the start list to, so that we don't see any braking or anything like that.
We'll see how that plays out. And we begin with the team that finished in third yesterday in the Nations Cup competition, a young team from Südtirol, Nadia Falkensteiner and Annalena Huber. Huber, maybe the most famous name in the history of Italian sliding sports.
Yeah, she's the daughter of Willy.
Oh, so, okay. Yeah. No, this I didn't know, but I will know that the rest of the season. There was Willy. Her uncle Arnold was a great luger. Her uncle Norby was an Olympic medalist in luge. Her uncle Gunther was an Olympic gold medalist in bobsleigh. What a family!
Big sliding family.
Bruneck is the home or the place of birth for both of these athletes. The season is underway. 2 runs combined time. And here we go with a brand new FIL World Cup season.
Start time for
this young double always shows us great lines during training. They are not the fastest at the start, but I think they still have a lot of improvements on the start. They have to get stronger athletic-wise. But I think the sliding-wise, they're already doing great. A little skid out of 10, a little skid going into 12, not ideal. And here we can see the late 13, which caused troubles at the end.
Yeah, we
have a crash. Come on.
One sled, one crash so far this season. Not a bad recovery, but of course they gave away all of their time.
Just keeps going. Yeah, that's what I meant during the POV video. They didn't have a good entrance going into corner 13. They went in on the left side, and you have so much pressure going into 13, so that just causes the sled to rise, drop, and go up at the end again. And at the point, you don't have any chance, basically.
That was program director and 6-time Olympic medalist Armin Zugler watching at the finish with concern. They seem okay, which is fine.
Yeah. Here we can see just too flat at the exit of 12, then sends you late into 13, and to start to loop, you have no chance at all. Just too high at the end, and then you have too much direction going to the left wall, and yeah. I'm surprised they didn't. They were holding up out of 13. And then too early to 13, and just with the high center of gravity in doubles, it's so easy to flip. Even if it's they made it a bit safer doing for the last few years, but it's still quite easy to crash.
The first of the two Latvian sleds on the ice now, Marta Robinic and Kitja Bogdanova. Latvia did a lot of shuffling between women's doubles athletes last year. There were injuries, there were teams switching up. And Bogdanova, I think each of these competed with other teams last year.
I'm not sure if Robinic did, but I'm sure that Bogdanova did, because Robinic hurt her shoulder in Altenberg, I think, at the World Champs.
Okay.
So she was out after that.
Right. Yeah.
Little unsecure out. Oh.
All right. That's
some troubles, but
closer
not too bad.
Closer to the times.
And
the track record 47.687. We expect that will fall. But Martins Rebenis down there at the bottom, an Olympic medalist from 2006, helps coach and helps build these sleds for the Latvia team. He seemed pleased.
Yeah, not the cleanest of runs. So they definitely have some more time in that run. Yeah, here we can see a little insecurity out of maybe a bit too high and then just dropped her feet. But that didn't cost a lot of time because the sled was going straight immediately. But then they had a hit before 15, and that started to loop, and then 16 is actually uphill, so if you have troubles there, it can cost a lot of time.
It's not quite the uphill we see in Winterberg or
not
some
quite,
of those other
but
places.
it's still, every time there's an uphill and you have troubles there, that's
right.
That is a lot of time.
Olympic silver medalist from 2018 in singles, Diana Eitberger, made the switch to doubles last year, had some good results, had a victory, but then made another switch during the offseason with her new partner, Lena Machina. Both now live in the Bavarian area, outside of Berchtesgaden, not that far from Innsbruck.
And we have a
start record right there
record for the beginning. In a World Cup debut, see? That's something.
And there's, it's not too early, Leon, to talk about the pressure that some of these women's doubles athletes are facing, knowing that possibly only one team per nation makes it to next year's Olympics. And Diana knows that this is going to be a battle for the next 14 months or so.
Yeah, she knows it. Yeah, it's just troubles. Oh, and we have a crash. Yeah, same problems that Falkenstein and Huber had. They just troubles out of 13, and
they won't get a finish time.
They won't get a finish time.
Unlike the Italians.
Won't get a second run.
So our field is down to 10, and that's a very inauspicious start from Diana, and a bit surprising.
Yeah, the entrance looked okay going into 13, but they just didn't cut the pressure right at the beginning, and that sends you up right at the end, and then they started to hit walls, and if you're unlucky enough to get an early 14, then that just flips you over, and then you're on your stomach going through a 14. So it's unlucky, and it hurts, especially in a double sled. It's a lot of weight that pushes you down on ice. So they will have some bruises.
Being relaxed on a sled, athletes always tell me, is maybe the most important thing. And it makes you wonder about Lena in her first ever World Cup race, whether there was just even the slightest amount of tension that affected the entire run.
Well, I don't know. It looked good until
that tough exit
until
of 13.
That tough exit of 13.
Right.
So I'm not too sure about that. But definitely you have to be relaxed, not just to have a great time, but also to have great lines. But it's a challenge sometimes, because you want to have control over the sled, and if you are too relaxed, you don't have control over the sled.
Poor Diana, she feels it.
Yeah.
And here we go. The Romanians were iced for a minute or so up at the top. Most of the top women's doubles athletes came from singles. And Diana Eitberger is one, Degenhardt, Rosenthal, Andi Vetter. They were all singles competitors, and Raluca was another. And Stramitraru enjoyed some of her best success back here in 2018 when there was a World Cup. She had a top 5 finish and went on to finish 7th at the Olympics that year.
Yeah, that was a great year for Romania.
Teaming up with Mihaela Manalescu for their 3rd year in a row. This is the 4th year of women's doubles on the World Cup. It's the 3rd season that they're traveling on the main tour. That first year, it was a separate tour, 4 races or so. They even did Blue Dents, didn't they? I think in that first year of doubles women's World Cup.
I think it was just in the juniors for the first time.
Is that right?
Yeah.
World Championships, I know, were in Winterberg.
Start time for this girl.
Not 100% sure about that.
Raluca Stramaturaro, 39 years old. She has been at it since the 20th century in luge. Her first year was 1999.
Oh, very late entrance into 8 and again a late entrance into 9. So you don't see that much skidding or anything, but it's a lot of time because you don't find the flow of the track. And here it's very important to find the flow to have a great downtime.
Well, surprisingly, Raluca's head is up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So she's trading in aerodynamic time for safety.
For safety, yeah. I'm surprised to see her with the head up like that because she has a lot of experience. And you know, going from the results that he had a couple years ago here in this track, I'm sure that she knows the track very well. But yeah, it's just sometimes if you don't feel safe enough, it's better to keep your head up and make sure that you get down safe or like on a straight line. Sometimes that's a smart decision to make, even if you sacrifice a bit of aerodynamic capabilities.
Right, she kept that head up quite a bit, most of the run. But again,
we see some troubles out of 13. Just unsecure and drops her feet. But she got it right back online.
All right. Smiles down at the finish. A second run upcoming for the Romanians. They're in 2nd place, but a distant full 2nd behind the leading Latvians. Now the lone entry from Poland, Domovic and Pivgovska. I know I butchered that name, but I'll get it right by the end of the season. They competed in most of the races last year. It was great to see. They did not make the trip to Sigulda for the final event, but they stayed pretty consistent. Their best result, a pair of top 10s, 10th place finishes last year.
Great so far. Nice entrance into 8. Nice entrance into 9. It looks very relaxed. And that's what you want to see.
New graphic there on the right showing the split times, the differentials all the way down the track. And that deficiency just keeps growing. But they may be in 2nd place down here at the bottom.
Yeah, it's a great looking run. Just they can't keep up with the time of the Latvian double.
Still 0.6 of a second back, but ahead of Romania, ahead of the young Italians who had the crash but crossed the finish line. And they seem pleased.
Yeah, it was a great looking run, I have to say. No big issues. It looked relaxed, so that's what you want to see. Great looking 13.
That's a tough corner. One of the toughest in the world.
Yeah.
Because
it can
the entrance and the exit.
The entrance is the most important thing
right
here in 13, because if you have a great entrance, then it's not so challenging, I have to say. But if you have a bad entrance, then there's just too much pressure to cut to make the right steer.
I'm sure that was the voice of Peter Pence back there, screaming at the start of the Austrian team of Selina Egla and Lara Kipp. They broke out onto the World Cup a couple of years ago with a bunch of victories. They opened last season with 2 wins in Lake Placid, ended up 4th in the World Cup overall standings.
Yeah, Selina shows us always a great form on the sled. She looks so calm and so relaxed. Her head is very far back. Great looking run from her.
This is sort of the prototype doubles team. Oh, hard off of 13.
Yeah. I could see that coming. Just not a great entrance into 13. And so far, like, other than the Polish double, everybody had troubles out of 13.
No
right?
one is immune. No one is immune. This is, what do you attribute this to? I mean, we know, Leon, this is the most challenging part of this track, but we didn't see a lot of this in the Nations Cup yesterday, at least from the top nations.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see that today, because the conditions should be easier than they were like yesterday in Nations Cup. But here they just didn't cut the first pressure, and then that sends you right back up at the end. They did a good job to not crash out of 13, I have to say. That was a very close call. And then they started hitting, but we're lucky enough to, not flip into 14, as we've seen like already twice so far.
Both Selena and Diana a little bit separating themselves and a little bit disappointed.
Obviously, yeah.
Elena Shtetskev doing double duty again this season, singles and doubles, as she pairs up with Alexandra Mok. They're 10 years apart. Elena 30. Alexandra 20.
You could hear a little scratch going into the start corner. You need to do a very good job at pre-steering the corner, so you don't have a straight angle going into corner 4. Yeah, a bit too early to 8. Yeah, a bit late into 9, but managed it well.
Sometimes if you're a little slower, you happen to be a little safer too.
Yeah,
you may not compete for the podium, but you'll stay off of the wall.
Yeah. That's a good looking 13. Early to 15.
This is where it gets uphill. Leon was talking about that. They were skidding there at the finish. So they lost probably, they're in 3rd place and they're within a second, but if you place a number on it, did they lose 3/10 or so just in the last corner?
3/10 is maybe a bit too much. But they had an upward skid, so actually it's a lot of time. But I don't know. Sometimes you can't really see how much time it is, but you can, like, if you're on the sled, you feel it. So they had an upward skid in 16, so that can be a lot of time. But we didn't see it that clearly.
We'll say it early and we'll say it often this season. It's great to see Ukraine here year-round on the entire tour. All of the troubles in that nation, but they have been competing regularly. All right, Andy and Marian come off of their 2nd consecutive World Cup overall last year. You know, Leon, your teammates don't always win the big events, but they're always on the podium. They're always top 3.
Yeah, they are very consistent. They always show us great lines. They rarely ever mess up, even in training. It's surprising to see how, it's a difficult sport to get down, even just to get down. And what they two are doing is just insane, because they've been having great lines all year round. And as you can see, they have a great start time as well.
They've briefly in the red, but now they've recaptured green. Yeah. Here comes the tricky spot.
It's a perfect entrance into 13. So they are
back in the red again. So it might be a question of sled setup at the moment. Latvia against Italy. How close can the Italians keep it?
I'm surprised by that.
600s.
Because the Latvians had some troubles in 15. So they went too early to 15 and started looping, but I don't know, they had great speed at the bottom, even with the mistake. That I would say it's just a matter of sled setup, because as you can see, the cone of 13 was like textbooks 13. And also the rest of the run was great looking. They had a start record. I don't know.
I mean, Anda used to do that even in singles. She was always one of the faster starters.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, they improved a lot on the start.
Is Hofner still working with the Italian program?
No, not anymore. Okay. Unfortunately. 3
remaining. What an interesting year last year for Anda Upaita for Latvia. She raced on the World Cup all season long, but with 3 different doubles partners due to injuries. And you can't know how difficult that is unless you're actually in this sport to make that adjustment so quickly.
And she did well with all 3 of them, which is just mind-blowing. That just shows how great of a slider Anda really is.
With Zane Kaluma, her brake person here, or not brake person, that's a bobsled term. Her partner, they had 3 top 5s in the second half of the season.
No, it's different than bobsled, because here is the bottom one. You actually have to steer and you have to react.
Help. That's right.
Yeah,
you have to be in sync, to use a cliche.
Great looking run here from Amanda. Ooh, troubles. Yeah, just drops back. They had some troubles going to 14 and also in 15.
Third place, but at least now, Leon, we have a race, because there are other Latvian sled leads the way ahead of the Italians and these Latvians, but now they're all within a 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, that's what we're used to in women doubles, right?
Yeah, that's what we're used to in a lot of these races.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened here. They maybe a bit too early to 14 and then late into 15. Just a big, not a big loop, but they started looping at 15. So they didn't cut the pressure perfectly, but I think it was still a good looking run.
Just 2 sleds remaining now in run number 1. The Americans in both men's and women's doubles look very solid all season or all week in training here in Lillehammer. So
I have to say I'm super excited to see how they are doing. They've been showing great times. As you said, both men doubles and women doubles. Also the singles. Yeah, I'm super excited to see how the American team is doing here.
Siobhan Forgan, originally from Australia, and her teammate Sophie Kirkby, they were very consistent last year. They didn't break out on the podium that often, but they were almost always in the top 5.
Oh, a bit late into 8, but managed it well. Great looking run here. Good lines. Nice height at the end of 12. Perfect for the.
This interval will be interesting, as they're almost 2/10 of a second
ahead.
So here we go across the finish. The USA is in the lead with 1 team remaining.
Crazy.
47.406.
Wow. That is a time. Congratulations. Wow. That is crazy.
You know, in the first race last season, the opening race of the year was men's doubles, and a young American team won that race.
Yeah.
And here we have a big lead for the USA.
That is just mind-blowing. They had a great run, I have to say, and I think they also had start records, so they have now start and track record. But I mean, wow, almost 3/10 ahead of the second double, which is, wow, that is so much time. It might not seem like a lot of time, but in the sport of luge, that is so much time. It's crazy.
We said it at the beginning of their run that the USA looked incredibly strong all week in doubles. Men's doubles happening a little later on today, but right now, the United States has set the mark with one very strong team remaining here in run number 1. World champions Jessica Degenhardt and Cheyenne Rosenthal. They captured that world title 2 years ago in Oberhof. And now the Saxonian and the slider from Winterberg are on course. 2 former World Championship, Junior World Championship medalists in singles.
35 and their finish time was 47:40.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. They can keep up with the Americans here, at least at the top.
Now they fall 200ths of a second behind, but that's still very close. What's fun about this race so far, Leon, is we have seen green, red, green, red. So
definitely.
Trends can be reversed.
It can be, and you never know until you're out of 13. That's a good line. So we shouldn't have any troubles.
Well, if they don't take the lead, they'll keep it close.
They are keeping it close.
So what a great finish to run number 1 as Germany crosses, and they trail the United States, but just by 3 or nearly 400ths of a second. It really is those 2 nations way out in front of everyone else.
Okay, yeah, they are in a different league. But like Forgan, Kirkby, and Degenhardt Rosenthal, they're sliding in a different league here today.
Jessica will be joining us later today to help commentate the men's competition in doubles. Wow, look at that synchronization. Perfect start.
Perfect battles.
Well,
you can see the feet lifting up at the end. That's when athletes try to
trip the clock.
Yeah.
Right. That's brand new head coach for Team Germany, former Olympic gold medalist Patrick Leitner, taking over for Norbert Locke. Hey, Norbert, if you're watching, hi. How is it to not be here? That's got to be a little strange, right?
I'm sure he's watching.
Standings after run number 1, Siobhan and Sophie, the USA leading over Jesse and Rosie for Germany. It's USA, Germany, and a pair of Latvians in 3rd and 5th, with the defending World Cup champions from Italy in 4th. And before we take a short break, you've got the standings right here on our monitor, Leon. What do you see happening in run number 2?
Well, I have to say Americans and Degenhardt Rosenthal had great speed. I would say that we will see the same for the second run. Robanese had a little bit of troubles in their run, so they have a bit of time left in their run. Further and Oberhofer not so much, but yeah. We'll see. As you can see, it's a big challenge getting out of 13. So you can see, like, we can see a lot of changing and shuffling in this order then for second run. Yeah, which is very exciting.
All right, Leon, enjoy another cup of coffee. We're about 26 minutes away. We'll rejoin action at the top of the hour for run number 2. Will it be Germany? Will it be the USA or another nation capturing the opening race of the season?